So hello and welcome back to a very special one-off edition of TNTV, and of course you're here with myself, Tony V, and as always the incredible and amazing Nicki V.
Thank you. I don't know what immedible means, but I'll take that as a great compliment. Thank you. And as you know, TNTV is for you if you're in a relationship and it's just not going the way you'd like it to go, or maybe even more so, you're in some pain and you're going, please give us something today that's going to make the difference between us arguing, rowing and loving. And that's why, as Tony said, today it's about what's critical. And what we've noticed over the years is these are the things that people need to know. People need to understand that they don't teach in school. That's going to make the difference between that oh so painful experience or love and intimacy at a whole new level.
Indeed, indeed. So our full-on question is, what's critical for you to resolve right now? So is there something in your relationship life together that really could do with a bit of a spring clean, if it's not too bad, or right down the bottom, if one person's thinking of running away and packing those bags and leaving them outside the door and wait for the taxi to come, whatever it is, whatever's critical for you to resolve there right now, trust us, we've been there, we've been in the taxi, we've been on the plane, we've been everywhere with people with just got sometimes a little challenge where they want to pep it up, or they've got a big ass challenge and they want to salvage it, but they don't simply know what to do. So
and what we've loved is that some of you have been downloading some of our emergency support materials, and what we've noticed that even when you've got some of these materials or some of this time and understanding of some of the things we've been talking about on the other videos, is that there's some deeply rooted stuff that actually nobody else teaches you. So maybe you've been to Tony Robbins, or you've studied with Jim Rohn, or you've been to T.R. Becker. They will be giving you some great success strategies, and we're not knocking that. Or even reading, the kind of magazines or the Jeremy Kyle show or whatever that's giving you that EastEnders version of how to have a great relationship. What we're going to give you today, and we're going to give you some other opportunities to get even more on this subject. What we're giving you today is what we call the secret to life and the secret to love.
Indeed, indeed. Now, we've got 4 really things to share with you, but right now, just maybe take a second to look below us and you'll see 2, quite pink coloured buttons that if you pass your cursor over them, I've made them turn blue.
Oh,
how cool is that?
So
now,
cheesy.
one of them says, get me on the webinar, because next week on Wednesday at 7 p.m, so it doesn't clash with the football in any way, shape or form, we are doing a webinar which is going to cover these 4 secrets, which we're going to tell you quickly now, but we're going to cover them in a little more detail in a 1-hour, one-off only webinar where you can be live with us.
Yes.
You can ask us questions, you can do all sorts of things on that webinar.
Yeah, and just in case you're watching this on Monday, this is this Wednesday, the 25th. So we're saying next Wednesday, Wednesday, June the 25th.
Yes. And we're also doing, if you haven't heard about it, a live event where for 2 days, if you really want to dig in deep and get the solutions and the answers to the secret to how to have a fantastic relationship, then we're doing these 2 days on the 5th and 6th of July. It's a Saturday and a Sunday. It's at London Heathrow in a fabulous hotel. We've got special room rates and all sorts of things that are real add-ons for you to enjoy. You can even have dinner with us on Saturday night. That would be really cool. So on that 2 days, we're going to be covering these 4 things in massive detail. And as Nicki said, I always call this beyond your average personal development. It's well beyond EastEnders, Jeremy Kyle and his crew. But it's even, as Nicki says, beyond Tony Robbins and all of those people, because they don't teach this stuff either. We're the only ones that really stuck our neck out, and we're teaching something completely new that you won't have ever seen before.
Yeah, so shall I go first?
Yeah, go.
Okay, so the first thing is called, brace yourself, multidimensionality. Might be a big word to spell as well.
Yeah.
And really, basically, for me, as a bit of a layman, my husband is the leading expert on explaining multidimensionality in a way that's usable, valuable, and you'll just get so much increased awareness of why, first of all, you're getting the results you'll get that you don't like, and secondly, how to get a different perspective of it and and more. But here's my kind of layman's way of explaining it, is that if you're getting experiences you don't like, you're probably looking, remember, I don't know whether you've seen the video where Tony talked about having blinkers on, but you're probably having blinkers on and you're looking at only one dimension of life. And we're going, well, what do you mean by that? It means that you're in what they call the third dimensional self, which actually means that you're looking at things only through what you already know. Now, actually what's available to us as a human being is actually 5 and maybe even more, but Tony will tell you that in more detail. 5 dimensions, which means we can go down to second and first dimension and up to fourth and fifth. And actually what's absolutely crucial for us is that the massive difference between what we call an unbelievably painful experience in intimate relationships and the bliss and joy, and even what's the difference between like having sex, which is not fulfilling you, or having that beautiful loving intimacy, is this. If you're in that dimension, you're going to have unhealthy red sex, as we call it. And if you can get into that 5th dimensional part of you, then you're going to have blissful, intimate love.
Indeed.
It's
well
huge.
done. It's a fantastic subject and worthy of the half day we're going to do on the weekend.
Yes.
And we'll give it our best in that hour to explain it at a
Absolutely.
level that you go, okay, I never really thought of it like that before.
Yeah, because that's like my version, but Tony's version it will give you from a different perspective as well, from the male's perspective.
Indeed. And so the next thing we're going to cover is what's known as the levels of consciousness. Now, there is what's known as a map of consciousness, which we're going to utilise because it's such a great concept. It's such a great model to help us understand something that is beyond, algebra and trigonometry type stuff that you struggled with at school. So the creation of this model, which we've really honed down into understandable bite-sized chunks that you can go, okay, I get it. I do that. That's why I get that experience. If I were to do this, I understand that I'd have a completely new experience. And our job as coaches is to help you go from A to B. That's what we do.
Right, that's sensational as well, isn't it? We always go, it's like, the difference between being a lover and a fighter. Just unbelievable. So the next thing we're going to cover is something called, I'm looking at the board going, let's get this right, the patterns of destructive behaviour. Now, as Tony said, we're coaches, and as you may know, we also teach other coaches how to utilise our kind of V-coaching strategy in order to help their clients get better results. And one of the things that we teach is that sometimes, when in fact every time, if somebody's really ready to learn stuff about themselves, we have to assist people to go really, really deep and to get clear about what that destructive pattern of behaviour is that's actually giving them the fights and the upsets and the, stonewalling and the criticisms and the contemptuousness, which actually destroys relationships. Now, you might go, wow, this sounds really, really heavy, Tony and Nicki. And what we're saying is, if we can share with you what we've learned over collectively 30 years of not just learning it for ourselves, but also for coaching maybe now thousands of people, it's this part, if really knowing your destructive behaviour that's giving you the results that you're getting in your love life and the rest of your life. Imagine knowing it so well that you catch yourself when you do it and you stop doing it forever.
Indeed.
Imagine that.
And some of the destructive behaviours that we have to deal with in supporting people on their relationships are things like alcoholism. Or any addiction is a destructive behaviour when it's brought into a relationship. So we've helped people on alcohol, we've helped people on drugs, whether they be drugs that are given you on a prescription, or whether they're illegal drugs, or whether they're non-prescribed drugs. We've had people on all of these destructive patterns. Sex, of course, pornography, massive destroyer. Gambling, oh my gosh.
Absolutely.
How many more gambling adverts do you want? And then they say, gamble responsibly.
I know.
I go,
Crazy.
you know, it's
Drink
a bit like
responsibly, they
drink
say as well.
responsibly. What does
Yeah.
that mean? These are addictive products that once
Yeah.
you've got sucked into that addiction, if you're in that position and you can't give it up, I guarantee it'll be affecting your intimate relationship.
And often people are often in intimate relationships. Men can have a sex addiction they don't really want to talk about. Women can have an addiction to being in a relationship. All that kind of thing we're going to cover more specifically on the weekend.
Indeed.
But of course we'll cover it in as much detail as we can on the webinar. Now, you know, one of the things you might be sitting there going, but actually, you know, Tony and Nicki, you know, we've got our relationship is not where we want it to be. It's like, you know, 5, 6, 7 out of 10 or even worse. And actually we don't do those kind of addictions, or, you know, maybe we have a social drink and, you know, there's going to be some destructive behaviour that you're doing, because in order to get a poor result, you have to be doing that. So all we're going to do is elegantly and carefully and lovingly assist you to get clear on what that is.
Indeed, indeed. Now, the final thing is that most people know 2 of these things, but they don't know all 3.
Yes.
And that is, there are 3 types of consciousness. And so consciousness is a big word, but you could call it 3 types of awareness. Awareness is a good word to swap for consciousness. So we often know, albeit we don't really understand how it works and why it works the way it does, the unconscious. And we are somehow, over the years, is to be great coaches, we really had to take that apart. We really know that if you're not doing well right now, your unconscious is what we call out of control. And worse still, it's not only out of control, it's got the autopilot switch switched on. It's like having a plane, you know, that plane that went missing, that, you know, had the autopilot switched on, and, you know, nobody can stop it until it crashed. And this is what we see in relationships. People have got the autopilot switched on their unconscious, and their relationship crashes. So, you know, that's something we're going to help you with. But also then, of course, we all know we've got our conscious, but what are you conscious of? We have a fun test we're going to do on the 2-day event, where you'll be able to see and test your own consciousness and go, okay, I've never thought of it like that before. It's a very powerful and fun thing to do.
Absolutely.
But here's the most important thing, is there is another level or type of consciousness or awareness which most people are completely unaware of. But it's the bit that manifests everything into your life. So that all sounds a bit out there. It's known as your superconsciousness. We're not going to try and tell you more about it now. But once you know this, there's one great saying that says you can't unknow it.
Yes.
So once you know this, you won't be able to unknow it, and you can definitely learn to turn things around in your life. And it doesn't matter what it is. It works on every facet of your life, obviously in intimate relationships, but if the money's not flowing in, then it will help with that. If you've got, in fact, a health problem, it will help with that. So yeah, we're going to cover it in a little bit of detail on the webinar, so don't be missing that. That's next Wednesday,
June the 25th at 7 p.m.
Or we're going to cover that in massive detail, because there's a big how in this. You know, when you walk away from our 2-day event, you're going to know not only what wasn't working, but you're going to know exactly what to be doing to turn it around. You're going to get a big how session.
Yeah, it's, as we call it, the secret to life and love.
Indeed, indeed. So that's us today. So from me, Tony V, and the amazing, incredible Nicki V, we either trust we're going to see you on the webinar or at the event, or why not even both? So until next week, bye for now.
Bye.